Lauren tightened her grip on her clutch as she and Mark walked up the driveway. The night was cool, the faint hum of music spilling out from Daniel and Claire's home. Mark seemed unusually cheerful, his hand pressed gently on her back as though urging her forward. Lauren smiled politely when they stepped inside, but her stomach was already fluttering with nerves. She couldn't explain it, only that something about this evening felt heavier than it should. The house was buzzing with life. Friends filled the living room, glasses of wine in hand, laughter floating in the air. Candles flickered on side tables, and the scent of Claire's cooking drifted from the kitchen. Daniel was at the center of it all, his easy laugh carrying across the room. He greeted them with a wide grin, hugging Mark like a brother before turning to Lauren. "You look beautiful tonight," he said warmly, his eyes holding hers a moment longer than expected. She smiled quickly, then looked away, pretending to adjust her sleeve. Claire appeared beside him, full of her usual grace. She kissed Lauren on the cheek, her bracelets clinking as she pulled her into the room. "Come on, let me get you something to drink," she said. Lauren allowed herself to be led, trying to shake off the strange current that seemed to follow her. But when she glanced back, she caught Mark watching Daniel with an intensity she couldn't quite place. As the evening unfolded, conversations spilled over one another, stories about work, vacations, children starting school. Lauren joined in, laughing when others laughed, sipping her wine slowly. Yet she felt outside of it somehow, as if the joy in the room wasn't fully hers to share. She noticed how Daniel's eyes flickered toward her in passing, subtle but steady. Each time, her pulse quickened before she quickly turned back to whoever was speaking. Mark, usually the quiet one at gatherings, was far more animated tonight. He told stories louder, leaned in closer, laughed harder. Lauren kept watching him, wondering what had gotten into him. When their eyes met across the room, he gave her a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. It was a smile that looked more like a secret than joy. At one point, Daniel made a toast, raising his glass high. "To old friends and new memories," he said, his deep voice carrying easily. Everyone cheered, glasses clinking. Lauren raised hers too, though her hand trembled just slightly. She noticed Daniel's glance again, brief but unmistakable. And though she told herself it was nothing, her heart didn't believe her. Music grew louder as the night went on. Couples swayed in the corner while others sat in groups, voices softening under the glow of warm lights. Lauren tried to enjoy it. She let Claire pull her to the dance floor, laughing as they spun once before Mark cut in. His grip on Lauren's waist was tighter than usual, his movements sharper, almost restless. "You're quiet tonight," he whispered against her ear. She forced a smile. "Just tired." She lied. When the song ended, Lauren slipped away to catch her breath. She stood near the window, looking out at the quiet street beyond, feeling like she didn't quite belong to either world, the noisy house behind her or the silence outside. She thought about how many parties she and Mark had been to with Daniel and Claire, how easy and natural it always felt. But tonight was different. Tonight there was a weight in the air, something unspoken pressing down on her chest. Claire joined her for a moment, chatting lightly about work and her latest recipe experiments, but Lauren barely heard. She nodded along, her thoughts tangled. When Claire left to check the oven, Lauren was alone again, staring at her reflection in the glass. Her own face looked distant, uncertain, as if even she didn't recognize the woman standing there. Then she felt Mark's presence before he even touched her. His hand slid onto her shoulder, and she turned to find his face closer than expected. His eyes were bright, restless, almost as though he was carrying a secret he was desperate to share. He kissed her cheek quickly, but it wasn't tender. It felt like a distraction, like he was holding something back. "Having fun?" he asked, his voice low. She nodded, though her throat was dry. "It's a good night," she said softly, but the words felt hollow. She looked past him back toward Daniel. He was laughing at something Claire had said, his head tilted, his expression open and warm. For just a heartbeat, he glanced at Lauren again. It was so fleeting she almost convinced herself it hadn't happened. Almost. Lauren shivered slightly and stepped away from the window, trying to blend back into the party. She joined a group in conversation, laughing at a joke, but her mind was far from the words. Something was wrong. She could feel it like a storm waiting beyond the horizon as the night deepened. Lauren couldn't ignore the tension anymore. Mark's hand on her back lingered too long. Daniel's gaze crossed hers too often, and Claire, blissfully unaware, floated through the room, welcoming guests, laughing, glowing. Lauren took another sip of her wine, her chest tight. She didn't know what would come next. But she knew one thing for certain: this night would not end like any other. And what she didn't yet realize was that Mark had come to this party with a plan. One that would shake everything she thought she knew about love, marriage, and the fragile lines between trust and desire. The party had settled into its late rhythm. The music was softer now, guests talking in smaller circles, glasses refilled with wine and whiskey. Lauren excused herself from a conversation and slipped into the hallway for a breath of quiet. She leaned against the wall, listening to the muffled laughter behind her. Her thoughts were messy, tangled between Daniel's glances, Mark's strange mood, and her own uneasy heartbeat. Mark appeared a moment later, stepping out of the crowd as though he had been waiting for her. He didn't smile, his face carried a seriousness that unsettled her. He touched her elbow lightly, guiding her further down the hall until they were away from the noise. "Lauren," he said softly, searching her face. "I've been wanting to talk to you tonight." His voice was calm, but his eyes flickered with something nervous, almost desperate. She frowned. "Oh, about what?" Mark hesitated. He pressed his lips together, looked down at his shoes, then back into her eyes. "You know, Daniel and I, we've been friends for years. We've shared everything. Trust, loyalty, memories. He's like a brother to me." Lauren nodded slowly, unsure where he was going with this. Mark drew in a breath, words tumbling out quickly, as if he feared he might lose courage if he paused. "I thought maybe tonight we could try something different, something exciting. What if we swapped partners just for one night? You with Daniel, me with Claire." Lauren froze. The words didn't make sense at first, as though he were speaking another language. She blinked at him, waiting for the punchline. The laugh, the smile that would tell her it was all a terrible joke. But his face stayed serious. His eyes held hers, pleading for her to understand. "What?" Her voice cracked barely above a whisper. "I'm serious," Mark said quickly, leaning closer. "It's not about replacing you. It's about trust, about trying something new. Daniel and Claire are open-minded. I know they'd be willing. It could be." "Stop." Lauren pulled her arm away, her heart hammering in her chest. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her husband, the man she had built her life with, was asking her to give herself to his best friend like it was nothing more than a game. Her voice shook. "Mark, how could you even think of that? Are you unhappy with me?" "Oh no," he said quickly, grabbing her hand. His grip was firm, almost desperate. "This isn't about being unhappy. It's about making things exciting again. We've been married 8 years, Lauren. Sometimes love needs something new, something bold." Lauren pulled her hand back, her stomach churning. The hallway felt too small, the air heavy. She thought of Daniel's smile across the room, the way his eyes had lingered on hers. A flicker of heat ran through her, one she didn't want to admit, but anger quickly rose to bury it. "So your answer to boredom is to trade me like I'm nothing." Mark's face fell. "Don't say it like that. This isn't trading. It's sharing. It's trust." Lauren stared at him, stunned. She didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or scream. The man who had promised her forever was now suggesting she spend the night with his best friend. And worse, she could see in his eyes that he wasn't joking, wasn't testing her. He truly believed this was a solution, maybe even a gift. Behind them, the sound of laughter carried from the living room. Daniel's voice rose above the rest, deep and warm. Lauren's chest tightened. She looked down the hall, imagining his face, his steady gaze. A part of her hated herself for wondering, just for a second, what it would feel like if she said yes. Mark noticed the hesitation in her eyes and leaned closer, his voice urgent. "Lauren, think about it. Daniel cares about you. I know he does. And Claire, she's beautiful. She's kind. It doesn't have to mean anything. It's just one night. No secrets, no guilt. Just an experience we share." Lauren shook her head quickly, pushing back this strange pull of temptation. "Mark, you're asking me to destroy us. Do you even hear yourself? Do you know what this would do to our marriage?" He looked wounded, as if she had slapped him. I thought you'd understand. Thought maybe you'd want this too." His voice cracked, his eyes darting away. Lauren swallowed hard, her throat burning. She wanted to scream at him, to demand how he could risk their love so carelessly. But the truth was more complicated, because underneath her anger, a quiet, unwelcome truth whispered inside her. She had felt Daniel's attention tonight. She had seen something in his eyes that wasn't friendship, and she had felt something in herself respond. She turned away, pressing her hand to her forehead. "I can't believe you brought me here just to ask me this," she whispered. Mark stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I brought you here because I trust you, because I thought maybe we could step into something new together. I didn't think it would hurt you. I thought it would bring us closer." Lauren spun to face him, her eyes brimming. "Closer? You want me with another man? How is that closer?" Mark opened his mouth, but no words came. He looked lost, unsure how to explain the thoughts that had led him here. From the other room, Daniel's voice called out, asking if anyone wanted another round of drinks. Lauren stiffened, her heart leaping despite herself. She hated the way her body reacted, the way her thoughts tangled between fury at Mark and confusion about Daniel. Mark touched her arm again. "Just think about it," he whispered. Don't say no yet. Lauren pulled away, her chest rising and falling. She couldn't bear to look at him. The hallway suddenly felt too bright, too close. She walked past him back toward the sound of voices, her steps unsteady as she entered the living room. Daniel looked up, his eyes finding hers instantly. Lauren felt the weight of his gaze, steady and knowing. Her heart twisted, torn between the man she had promised forever to and the man who suddenly seemed to hold a dangerous kind of possibility. And in that moment, she realized the night was only beginning. Nothing would ever be the same again. The music had shifted to a slower rhythm, almost hypnotic. As the party wound into its late hours, Lauren found herself in the corner of the room, swirling the last drops of her wine in the glass. Her hands were trembling slightly, though she tried to steady them. The words Mark had whispered in the hallway were still echoing in her mind, twisting her thoughts into knots she couldn't unravel. She had never imagined a night like this, a night where love and desire felt so tangled, so dangerously close to breaking everything. Mark reappeared at her side, carrying another glass of wine. He didn't smile, but his eyes held a softness that made her heart ache. He reached for her hand, brushing his fingers against hers lightly. "Lauren," he murmured, "just breathe. Let's talk." Lauren pulled her hand back. "There's nothing to talk about," she said firmly. Her voice shook slightly, betraying the storm inside her. "I can't. I won't. Mark, this is too much, too fast. It's too wrong." He stepped closer, lowering his voice to a hush. "I know it feels that way. I know it's shocking, but think about it. About us, about trust, about what we've always said, that we should never hide anything from each other." Lauren's eyes flicked to Daniel across the room. He was laughing at something Claire had said, his head thrown back, carefree and light, and then his gaze met hers, and for a moment the room seemed to shrink. She could feel the pull of his attention, steady and intense, and it frightened her. She turned back to Mark. "This isn't trust. This is temptation. And it's not trust if it destroys us." Mark's face hardened slightly, but there was a sadness in his eyes. "I'm not trying to destroy us. I'm trying to explore, to experience something new together. You've always said you wanted adventure. This is it, Lauren, right here, right now." Lauren shook her head, her chest tightening. Adventure wasn't this. This was chaos, a storm that threatened to pull her under. She wanted to scream, to run, to tell Mark that she loved him, and nothing could ever justify what he was asking. Yet at the same time, her thoughts betrayed her. Daniel's steady, warm gaze lingered in her mind, and she felt a confusing ache she couldn't name. Claire approached them then, laughing softly, unaware of the tension between the two. "Lauren, you have to try this drink. It's amazing. Found the recipe online," she said brightly, thrusting a colorful cocktail into her hand. Lauren took it automatically, barely registering the words. Her mind was still caught in the spiral Mark had set into motion. Mark's hand brushed against hers again, lingering longer this time. Lauren flinched, but didn't pull away. She couldn't explain why. A mix of fear, anger, and a strange pull toward him tangled in her chest. He leaned closer, whispering so only she could hear. "Just think about it. Don't say anything yet. Let's see where the night takes us." Lauren tried to focus on Claire, to chat and laugh, to pretend everything was normal. But every time she looked at Daniel, she felt a spark she couldn't ignore. He smiled at her once, briefly, and her stomach flipped. She hated the way it made her feel, like she was betraying Mark just by thinking about it. The room seemed to spin faster, louder, music, clinking glasses, all blended together in a dizzying blur. Lauren excused herself again, this time heading for the balcony. The night air was sharp, bracing, and she leaned against the railing, letting the cool breeze wash over her. Her thoughts raced. She couldn't deny the attraction, the curiosity, but she also couldn't deny her love for Mark. And yet the idea he had planted, the seed of swapping, of crossing a line, refused to leave her mind. Mark followed her to the balcony, his movements careful, measured. "Lauren," he said softly, "look at me, please. I'm not asking this lightly. I want to share something with you, with all of us. I trust you. I know you trust me. Just let yourself imagine it." Lauren turned to him sharply. "Imagine it? Mark, do you even hear yourself? You're asking me to imagine being with Daniel, my best friend, your best friend. And you want me to imagine it like it's fun." Mark swallowed hard. "I know it's strange. I know it sounds crazy. But sometimes life is crazy. Sometimes love doesn't follow the rules we think it should. I thought maybe it could bring us closer, could make us see each other differently." Lauren looked down, her hands trembling. She wanted to hate him. She wanted to tell him this was impossible, that she loved him and would never consider such a thing. But then she remembered Daniel's gaze, steady and unwavering, across the room. And she felt something stir inside her, a dangerous curiosity she couldn't name. The sound of laughter behind them pulled her back to reality. Claire's voice floated across the balcony, calling for everyone to come back inside. Lauren's heart raced. She realized that no one knew what was happening in her head, what storm was brewing between the three of them. And yet she felt the night shifting, the tension thickening like the air before a summer storm. Mark reached for her again, his hand brushing her arm. "Lauren, I don't want to pressure you. I had to tell you. I couldn't keep it inside. I trust you to know what you feel. To make the choice, I just hope you'll consider it." Lauren stepped back, shaking her head. I don't know what to think. I don't know what I feel. And I don't want to think about it right now." Mark nodded, but the sadness in his eyes was palpable. "Okay, I'll wait. Just don't shut me out completely. Don't let fear decide for us." Lauren watched him retreat slightly, the tension in his shoulders visible even in the dim light. She wanted to scream at him, to tell him how impossible this was, but she also wanted to throw herself into the chaos he had offered, to see what it might feel like, and that terrified her most of all. Back inside, Daniel caught her eye once more. He raised his glass slightly, a silent, knowing smile playing on his lips. Lauren felt her breath hitch, torn between the steady love she had promised Mark and the dangerous pull of curiosity and desire that lingered with Daniel. The night pressed on, each moment thick with unspoken questions, uncharted feelings. Lauren realized that by the time the party ended, nothing would feel the same. The air between her, Mark, and Daniel had changed. Something had been awakened, and there was no way to ignore it. And as she stood on the balcony alone for a brief moment, Lauren understood a painful truth. Love could be messy, complicated, even frightening. Sometimes the most unexpected storms could show her exactly what she wanted, and exactly what she feared to lose. The night had just begun, and Lauren knew, deep in her heart, that whatever happened next, nothing would ever feel ordinary again. The party was winding down, the last guests lingering in clusters, soft laughter drifting through the rooms. Lauren stood near the window, staring at the darkened street below, her thoughts tangled and heavy. Her heart still raced from the conversation in the hallway and the balcony, the weight of Mark's words pressing on her chest. She couldn't believe the night had unfolded like this. She had always seen their marriage as steady, safe, predictable in a comforting way. But tonight had shattered that illusion, leaving her teetering on the edge of confusion and temptation. Mark approached quietly, his steps deliberate as if he didn't want to startle her. He leaned against the window sill beside her, giving her space. Yet his presence was undeniable. "Lauren," he said softly, "I know this has been a lot. I don't want to push you, but I need to know how you feel." Lauren didn't answer immediately. Her gaze remained fixed outside, watching the occasional car pass under the streetlights, their headlights cutting through the dark. She felt the ache of indecision, the strange pull of possibility against the solid wall of her love for Mark. I don't know," she admitted finally. "I feel something I can't explain, and it terrifies me." Mark's hand hovered near hers, but he didn't touch her. "It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to feel conflicted. I just want you to be honest with me, with yourself, too." Lauren turned to face him, her eyes shimmering with unshaded tears. "I love you, Mark. I always have. I want our life to be enough. But tonight, everything feels different. I feel drawn to Daniel in ways I can't control, and I hate myself for it." Mark's expression softened, sadness and understanding mingling in his eyes. "You're human, Lauren. Feelings are complicated. You can't control what comes into your heart, but you can choose what to do with it. You can choose us." Lauren swallowed hard, her mind racing. The warmth of Daniel's attention, the brief connection in his gaze, it had stirred something she hadn't felt in years. It wasn't just curiosity, it was longing, an unexpected kind of thrill she didn't expect, and it frightened her. But she also knew the depth of her love for Mark, the trust they had built over nearly a decade. The thought of losing him, of seeing that disappointment in his eyes, was unbearable. From the other side of the room, Daniel caught her glance. His expression was gentle, almost tender, yet unreadable. He raised his glass in a small, casual gesture, acknowledging her without words. Lauren felt a flicker in her chest, a reminder of the pull she had felt earlier. She looked back at Mark, whose gaze never wavered, steady and warm, a reminder of the foundation they had built together. Mark stepped closer, carefully bridging the distance between them. "Lauren," he whispered, "you don't have to decide anything right now. But whatever you do, know that I want us to be honest with ourselves and with each other. I don't want secrets. I don't want regret. I just want love, pure and true, even if it scares us." Lauren's throat tightened. She realized how much she wanted to hold on to him, to feel that safety, that unwavering commitment. And yet, The storm of emotions Daniel had stirred in her remained impossible to ignore. The night had exposed feelings she didn't know existed, desires that had quietly waited beneath the surface of her routine life. Mark reached for her hand again. This time she didn't pull away, fingers intertwined with hers, warm and grounding. Whatever you choose, I'll respect it. But remember, we are stronger than fear, stronger than temptation, stronger than anything that tries to pull us apart. Lauren took a shaky breath, letting the words sink in. She closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the heartbeat of the man she loved pressed gently against her hand. She thought of their life together, the quiet mornings, the late night talks, the laughter, the tears. She thought of stability, shared dreams, the promises they had whispered on their wedding day. And she realized that no fleeting thrill, no momentary curiosity could replace that depth of connection. She opened her eyes and met Mark's gaze fully. "Mark, I choose us," she said, her voice firm but tender. "I choose our love, our life. I won't let tonight make me forget everything we have. You're my husband, my partner, my forever." Mark's face softened into a smile, a mixture of relief and joy. He pulled her into a gentle embrace, holding her close, the warmth of his chest, the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. In that moment, the pull of temptation faded, replaced by a deep, unshakable sense of belonging. From across the room, Daniel watched them quietly, his expression unreadable but not unkind. Lauren caught his eye for a brief moment, offering a small, apologetic smile. It wasn't just about her feelings anymore. It was about the choices she made, and the respect she owed to the people she cared about. Claire approached then, sensing the subtle tension had passed. She smiled brightly, raising her glass again. "Well, you two look happy. Come on, let's end this night on a good note." Lauren nodded. Feeling lighter than she had in hours, she and Mark returned to the living room together, hands still entwined. The music, the laughter, the soft chatter, it all felt different now. It was no longer overwhelming. It was warm, reassuring, a reminder that life could be messy and complicated, yet beautiful if you faced it together. As the night went down, Lauren realized that the experience, terrifying as it had been, had deepened her understanding of herself and her marriage. She understood the fragility of trust, the dangers of unspoken desires, and the strength required to choose love over fleeting temptation. And in choosing Mark, she had reaffirmed a bond that was stronger than fear, stronger than curiosity, stronger than any storm that might pass through their lives. Mark leaned closer, brushing a soft kiss across her temple. "Thank you," he whispered, "for trusting me, for choosing us." Lauren smiled, her heart full. "Thank you for trusting me too," she replied. And as they stood together, watching the last guests leave, Lauren felt a renewed sense of love, a quiet but powerful certainty that whatever challenges awaited them, they would face them side by side. The night had tested them, tempted them, and unsettled them, but in the end it had reminded them of what truly mattered. Outside, the city lights flickered softly, a calm after the storm. Inside, Lauren and Mark held each other, hearts aligned, ready to continue their life together with a love deeper, wiser, and more unshakable than ever before. The party had ended, but their story, their journey, was only beginning, stronger and more radiant for all they had faced.